Now get the guns, the drugs from my generation. I'll take the fall, the saints, and across the nation. And it's a sex, the gods, the fakes, the fraud, they're messing with me. Come on, come on, come on, let's get it out. Move to the music, play that fucking music. Live through my music, yeah.
We are now at the 11th of March 1996. WCW is back on the air after being preempted last week as Nitro comes live from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The WWF are going to begin a new set of tapings this week, so Raw is live tonight from San Antonio, Texas. Just before we get started, I thought I'd point out that The Rock worked his very first match in front of a Raw audience at these very tapings. Dwayne Johnson vs. Skip took place in the opening dark match, and this was well before Rocky's USWA run as Flex Kavana. Raw opens up as normal with a video hyping tonight's matches. We have a tag team main event featuring The Undertaker and Yokozuna taking on Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith. We'll also see Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart training for the Iron Man match, and we'll also get information regarding the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania. Over on Nitro, Eric Bischoff starts things off by telling us we have a new TV champion. Lex Luger defeated Johnny B. Bad to win the title as Johnny was now set to make his WWF debut. So Lex was now a double champion. Not bad for someone who Bischoff initially didn't want to rehire. The Nitro commentary team let us know that the Nasty Boys will be going up against the Road Warriors later. And we also have the team of Hogan, Savage and the Booty Man going up against Flair, Anderson and the Taskmaster once again. This time it's a lumberjack strap match, but we'll talk about that a little later. Our first matches then are Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus The Giant, and the WWF gives us Savio Vega versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. The Ringmaster moniker is now completely gone, and this is Austin's very first Raw match as Stone Cold. Austin gets the upper hand after the opening bell, applying a hammerlock before cinching in a headlock. A crossbody allows Savio to switch momentum briefly, but Vega gets a little predictable when going for his third arm drag attempt. Austin outsmarts his opponent here, and this allows Stone Cold to begin a systematic attack. Clubbing blows to the neck from Austin, Savio tries to fight back, but a double X-handle smash to the head stops Savio in his tracks. Austin hits a smooth suplex as we see Mark Henry sitting in the audience. This was Mark's very first WWF appearance. Vince introduces Henry as the world's strongest man who will be representing the USA in the Olympic Games. Henry would sign his WWF deal after the 1996 Summer Olympics. Back in the ring, Savio fights back with some hard-hitting knife-edge chops, but Austin again swings the momentum in his favour. Savio just can't get a break here. We come back from commercials and Savio gets whipped into the corner before taking a clothesline. Austin props Savio up on the middle ropes, leaving Vega vulnerable to more punishment. Big back elbows from Stone Cold lead to Vega getting Irish whipped into the opposite corner. Savio was able to hit a spinning back kick, and now Savio was able to mount some offense. A spinning wheel kick knocks both men out of the ring. The two men brawl on the outside, and because both men stopped each other from getting back into the ring, the match is ruled as a double countout. Austin and Vega then continue to beat each other up. The referee has some trouble trying to break up the fight, and the segment comes to an end after Vega delivers another spinning wheel kick that knocks Stone Cold out of the ring. While the action was pretty tight here, this match lacked heat even when both men were beating each other up after the bell. In fairness, the WWF were trying to establish a rivalry between these two that would lead to a WrestleMania match, but it does feel a little out of nowhere. After the bout, we see a clip of Mark Henry slamming Jerry Lawler before Raw went on the air. Does Hacksaw Jim Duggan have any hope against the Giant on Nitro? Let's find out. Duggan starts on the offense, but he simply can't hurt the big man. We see a sign in the audience that's advertising a phone number, something to do with Brian Pillman. Yes, Brian Pillman is in the audience and he's making a scene. Pillman eventually gets escorted out by security, but keep in mind that this was all a work. The commentary team even acknowledge Pillman as the match continues to play out in the ring. Check out my Brian Pillman ECW video if you want to learn more about this. disgrace. Let's go back and try to refocus on the match then. The competitors bring the fight to the outside. Duggan tries to launch off the apron, but the Giant catches his opponent in midair, leading to Duggan getting drilled into the ring post. The Giant then clubs Hacksaw's back in the middle of the ring, and then a bear hug gets applied. Duggan bites his way out of the hold. The Giant then headbutts Duggan in the corner before delivering a back elbow. The Giant misses a corner splash, allowing Duggan to clothesline the Giant out of the ring. The Giant no-sells it, and we see yet another bear hug. Duggan headbutts the Giant and he knocks himself out of the ring. Jim then tapes his fist up on the outside like if this gives Duggan some magical powers, and right enough, Duggan is able to knock the Giant off his feet with a few punches. Jimmy Hart then tries to interfere, and this gives the Giant a chance to deliver his choke slam. 1, 2, 3, Duggan takes the loss. Neither opening match was great here. Not too long ago I said that Raw and Nitro were opening their shows with some big matchups, but I'm not sure what happened this week. If I had to pick one, I'd give the point to Raw, simply because the evolution of Steve Austin is quite fascinating to look back at. I'm so excited for this next bit, but I'm going to remain as fair as possible. The Nasty Boys got taken out backstage and they're getting replaced. The Road Warriors are now taking on the returning Steiner brothers on Nitro, while the WWF presents a face-off between Roddy Piper and Goldust, along with a tag team match, the Godwins versus Alex Porto and Jerry Meade. This was the Steiners' first proper WCW appearance since September of 1992. Rick and Scott had travelled to Japan after their WWF stint, and they did work a few interpromotional WCW and New Japan shows, but this was the true WCW return of the Steiner brothers here on Nitro. As Hawk and Animal make their way down to the ring, Eric Bischoff wonders who attacked the Nasty Boys backstage, but I mean, who cares about the Nasty Boys? We're getting the Steiners versus the Road Warriors live on Nitro. Road Warrior Hawk and Scotty Steiner begin the action as the crowd are on their feet. Hawk starts off strong, delivering some knife-edge chops to Scott, but Scotty replies with a nice belly-to-belly suplex. Hawk takes a pump-handled slam before getting set up on the top rope. The Road Warrior shifts momentum and Steiner takes a top rope clothesline, followed by a big boot and a neck breaker. Some great fast-paced action here to kick off this tag team match. Scott delivers a double underhook slam before tagging in the dog-faced gremlin. Hawk tags an Animal, and Animal takes control right away with a big power slam. Rick answers with two clotheslines followed by a delayed German suplex, and Road Warrior Animal takes two belly-to-belly suplexes next, one from Rick off the top rope and another from Scotty, who gets tagged back into the match. It's just power move after power move here. Rick gets tagged in as Animal looks a little tired. Quick tags from the Steiner brothers leads to a Steiner recliner getting applied by Scott, but Hawk breaks the hold. A dropkick spot gets botched a little, but these guys could afford a misstep here. This has been fantastic so far. The Steiners are definitely working better as a team. The quick tag strategy works well, but Hawk is eventually tagged in and the Road Warrior is able to clean house. Rick takes a shoulder block before getting nailed with a power slam. The Road Warriors hit the Doomsday device, but Scott breaks up the pin attempt. The Steiners then go for the Doomsday device, but Animal makes sure it doesn't happen. Top rope clotheslines follow from Scott and Animal. It's a war on Nitro and the fans can't sit down. Scotty signals for the Frankensteiner. He hits the move, but Hawk breaks up the pin. The Steiners hit their top rope bulldog, and while this was happening, Animal grabbed a spike shoulder pad from the Road Warriors entrance attire. Rick gets nailed behind the referee's back, and the Road Warriors pick up the win. It's a shame the finish wasn't clean, but this match was brilliant, much better than the Harlem Heat vs Road Warriors match from a few weeks ago. After the bout, Scott Steiner tells Mean Gene that the Steiners came to WCW to go after the Road Warriors, and the way they won tonight's match was a disgrace. Rick Steiner says that this is far from over. Good stuff. Roddy Piper was scheduled to come out next on Raw, but Goldust and Marlena make their way to the ring. Piper comes out next and the Hot Rod doesn't look happy at all. Vince McMahon has to stop Piper from going after Goldust. Piper's promo this week on Raw wouldn't fly today. Goldust gets called a fruitcake, a cream puff, and a transvestite who is just trying to get attention. Roddy Piper reminds Goldust that the Hot Rod beat the life out of Adrian Adonis with a baseball bat, so these mind games won't get Goldust very far. Piper also also tells Goldust that he's making a joke out of the prestigious Intercontinental title before Goldust grabs the mic. Goldust gets on his knees telling Piper that the Bizarre One's best work is in the Hollywood backlots. Goldust then tries to see what's under Roddy's kilt before Piper stops him from doing so. Piper pushes Goldust. Goldust slaps Piper. Piper knocks the wig right off Goldust's head with a hard slap to the face, and Piper tells Goldust that if he wants a Hollywood backlot fight, then he's going to get one at WrestleMania. A good promo here. Again, people would complain about this nowadays, but it was supposed to make viewers feel uncomfortable, and it was supposed to put Piper in a weird place. It wasn't standard by any means, and this is what made it good. I guess we have to wait until later before hearing the Ultimate Warrior announcement. Up next on Raw, we have the Godwins against Alex Porto and Jerry Meade. I wish I could tell you more about the Godwins' opponents here, but I've got nothing, sorry. Jerry Meade and Henry Godwin start things off, and things are pretty scrappy here. Phineas gets tagged in, and Meade gets the advantage for a moment. As Porto gets tagged in, Phineas goes absolutely crazy, and he begins kicking like a mule. I've no idea what the fuck's going on here. Porto goes to the top rope, but his crossbody attempt gets reversed. Phineas slams his opponent into the mat before Henry gets tagged back in. Henry gets launched into the ropes, but he ends up kicking Porto before hitting the slop drop. It's all over in under 2 minutes, and thank God for that. The Goldust and Piper promo just wasn't enough. The Steiners and the Road Warriors pick up the point for Nitro. We have got a ton of WrestleMania 12 hype, along with Triple H taking on Vin Greer, while new TV champion Lex Luger battles Alex Wright on Nitro. We see a promo for Uncensored before the Nitro match, and we learn about the Uncensored main event. It's a Doomsday Cage Match. Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage are going to run a gauntlet inside a triple stacked steel cage, going up against a bunch of heels. More on this later though. Alex Wright and Lex Luger make their way to the ring, and Eric Bischoff begins burying Johnny B. Bad on commentary, saying that Johnny talked the talk but he couldn't walk the walk with the big boys. Bischoff says that Johnny has pretty much packed his bags because he lost the TV title to Lex Luger, but we all really know that Johnny B. Bad was getting ready to debut in the World Wrestling Federation. Alex hits a nice standing drop kick at the beginning of the bout before applying an armbar. Luger fights his way out, but Alex hits back with a head scissors followed by another drop kick that sends Lex to the outside. As Alex delivers a big dive over the top rope, Eric Bischoff tells us that Lex Luger has pulled out of the Chicago street fight at Uncensored, and now Sting is going to need to find another tag partner to face the Road Warriors at the pay-per-view. Luger would end up competing in the Doomsday Cage main event. Alex hits a massive double axe handle from the top rope, but it only scores him a 2 count. Lex is then able to knee Alex in the back, and this sends Das Wunderkind back outside the ring. Lex begins to flex after hitting Alex with an overhead slam as the total package takes control of the bout. Wright takes a little punishment in the corner, but a crossbody reversal slows Luger down. This isn't enough as Lex catches Wright in the opposite corner, bringing Wright's head crashing into the turnbuckle pad. Luger then begins slapping Alex around while talking smack. Lex is toying with his opponent while shouting into the camera, but Wright brings some great fire to the match when he begins fighting back. Wright is able to hit a jumping back elbow, a backdrop, and a spinning wheel kick in succession, but he can't put Luger away. Alex then hits a missile drop kick before going to the top rope once again, and this is where it falls apart. Jimmy Hart shows up and he tries to push Alex off the top rope. Alex frees himself and he goes for a crossbody, but Luger grabs him, resulting in a weak looking stun gun. After all the action we saw in this match, this stun gun is enough to put Alex away for the 3 counts. Kinda disappointing. A very good TV match here, but it was hurt by the finish. Luger doesn't seem very pleased about Jimmy Hart getting involved, but we didn't know if this was all an act. Quite a lot of smaller segments up next here on Raw. We see clips of both Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels preparing for the WrestleMania 12 60-minute Iron Man match, so let's look at HBK's training first. Shawn standing in front of the Alamo as he introduces us to Jose Lothario for the very first time. Just a quick side note, HBK apparently treated Jose like absolute dirt behind the scenes. We then see Shawn hitting a punching bag, HBK's climbing ropes, he's going across monkey bars, he's running up stadium steps, and he's doing balanced upside down push-ups in front of an American flag. Shawn asks Jose if he ever imagined that his student would win the WWF Championship, and Jose says of course. We then go over to Bret Hart in Calgary, and Bret says that the roots of his wrestling training is all about toughness. The Hitman then says that Shawn's training had sprinkles of Lucha Libre incorporated, thanks to Jose Lothario, and then the kicker comes. Bret says he can't think of any tough Mexican wrestlers. I'm sure a lot of Mexican superstars would disagree with the Hitman here, but anyway, we see Bret running on a treadmill and he isn't watching tapes of his opponent. Oh no, he's watching tapes of himself. Bret then says that Shawn can't lace the Hitman's boots. Bret says HBK has one good move, the super kick, and the rest of the 60-minute Iron Man match will just come down to conditioning and nothing more. We also see Bret out running in the snow, and yes, it does look a little less glamorous than Shawn's training. Bret would complain about this too, saying that Shawn looked like $1 million with his training montage, but the Hitman's training video made him look a little more boring. I don't know about that. I mean, Bret's getting his ass kicked by Stu in the dungeon, and that's pretty cool. But if you were a young fan and if you didn't follow the Hitman's career and whatnot, then I guess Bret has a point. Still, the words that come out of Bret's mouth cut way deeper than what Shawn's did. Bret basically said his WrestleMania opponent is good, but he's not the best. And everyone will remember that after the 60-minute Iron Man match at WrestleMania. Good stuff here though. These montages are well remembered and they go hand in hand with the WrestleMania main event. As Hunter Hearst Helmsley makes his way to the ring, Vince McMahon announces that Triple H will face the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania. If you remember back to last week, it was Roddy Piper who was supposed to make this announcement, but I guess he was too busy with Goldust. We see a promo video hyping the WrestleMania return of the Ultimate Warrior. It's pretty much the same clips we've seen over the past few weeks. Helmsley is going up against Vin Greer, and again, sorry, I have nothing on this guy. It's very predictable stuff here. This Vin Greer chop doesn't get a single offensive move in, not one. Hunter outsmarts his opponent by delivering a body shot instead of locking up at the opening bell, and from here it's a display of offensive moves from Helmsley. European uppercuts are followed by the Harley Race knee. Triple H delivers a vertical suplex. We see the Ric Flair knee drop. Hunter then slaps his opponent around in the corner, and then it's the pedigree. Just like that, the Ultimate Warrior's WrestleMania opponent scores the win. The second Raw match this week to end in under 2 minutes. This is a hard point to give out then. The Luger versus Wright match wasn't bad, but it was let down by the finish. The Helmsley match was a complete squash, but Raw also gave us those training montages for Bret and Shawn. I'm going with what I enjoyed watching more here, and I'm going with Raw, simply for the training videos. Had the Luger versus Wright match ended with a torture rack or anything other than that weak stun gun, then Nitro would have had a better chance. Main events next, we have Ric Flair, Arn Anderson and Kevin Sullivan once again doing battle with Hulk Hogan, the Booty Man, and Randy Savage in a 6-man lumberjack strap match. Over on Raw, Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith are taking on Yokozuna and The Undertaker. Taker and Yoko have some real history and it's interesting seeing these guys team up, so let's see if they can defeat Kemp Cornette here on Raw. Before the main event gets underway, Scheme Gene tells us that the Huckster and the Nacho Man will go head to head in the WrestleMania kickoff show. Billionaire Ted will be the special referee, and no handcuffs or ladies' shoes will be allowed in the match. The bout was pre-taped, it didn't happen in the arena, and the match ended with everyone getting heart attacks. We also get to see the Huckster training for the match, and we see the Nacho Man getting a spray job on his bald spot. We see Big Daddy Cool Diesel via split screen as Taker makes his way to the ring. Diesel says he'll be teaming up with Shawn Michaels to take on Bret Hart and The Undertaker during some live shows, and he says he hopes the rumours about Shawn Michaels aren't true. When Vince questions Diesel about these rumours and what they are, Diesel refuses to answer. Weird. Yokozuna and The Undertaker stare each other down at the beginning of the match, but Owen and Davey launch an attack. There's a bit of a timing issue here when Yokozuna waits and waits for Taker to finish beating up Owen Hart so the heels can get launched into each other. The Phenom takes his sweet time as Yokozuna stands there waiting for the cue. As Yokozuna and Undertaker maintain their advantage, we see Big Daddy Cool Diesel coming down to the ring, and because Taker was distracted with Owen Hart, Hart, Diesel takes this opportunity to attack Paul Bearer. Undertaker then notices what happened, and Paul Bearer tells the Phenom to go after Big Daddy Cool. We go to commercial break, and Yokozuna is left all alone with Owen and Bulldog. Owen drives an elbow into Yokozuna before tagging in Davey. Yokozuna fights back, and this leads to Owen jumping back in to help his brother-in-law. Just then, Vader comes to the ring, and Yokozuna gets wiped out with a massive clothesline to the back of the head. It's a DQ finish. Ahmed Johnson and Jake Roberts eventually come to the ring to try and even the odds. We have a massive brawl here, and the audience is actually eating it up. They go crazy when Yokozuna and Vader begin laying into each other. In the end, the bad guys retreat, and Raw goes off the air with Vince McMahon telling us a little about next week's matchups. Not much of a main event here, plenty of story progression, but very little wrestling. Speaking of very little wrestling, here comes the Booty Man along with Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. This is a lumberjack strap match. The lumberjacks, dressed in flannels, are armed with leather straps, and as far as I can tell, the match participants will also have straps. The match can only be won via pinfall or submission, so let's see what happens. The audience boos as Hulk Hogan's theme music plays in the arena. Remember, we're in Flair country tonight, and there's definitely some hostility being directed at the baby faces. This one is completely chaotic. The referee doesn't even try to get a little bit of order here, as everyone just starts beating the hell out of each other. Loch Ness accidentally hits the Giant with a strap on the outside, resulting in the two big men fighting on the entranceway. In the ring, I think there's 3 straps available for the 6 men, and the lumberjacks waste no time in whipping anyone who falls out of the ring. They even end up whipping each other. It's complete chaos here on Monday Nitro. There's no control whatsoever, and it's quite hard to follow. Hogan and Flair are squaring off with each other, with Hogan obviously getting the upper hand. Big Brother Booty is taking care of Anderson, and Macho is focusing his attention early on Kevin Sullivan. It's quite hard to keep up with the action as the cameras try to focus on the 6 men in the ring and the lumberjacks on the outside. Kimberly Page once again shows up on the entranceway holding some roses. Bischoff thinks that Kimberly has a thing for the Booty Man. God help that poor woman. Ric Flair then tries to run away, but Road Warrior Animal brings the Nature Boy back to the ring. The Booty Man is taking care of Sullivan and Anderson all on his own, and the audience gets a reason to cheer when Ric Flair begins choking out Hulk Hogan. Hulk finds himself on the outside of the ring, and Bobby Eaton and Ming don't hesitate in beating some sense into the Hulkster. This was great to see. Eaton seemed particularly eager to attack Hogan. You just know though that Hogan would completely refuse to look weak, so moments later Hogan goes out and he takes out a bunch of heel lumberjacks just because he can. The whole point of a lumberjack match is to have a serious and dangerous threat if a competitor falls out of the ring, and if a competitor can just go out there and destroy the lumberjacks, well, you know where I'm going with this. It's ridiculous and it's extremely typical. Hogan gets back inside the ring and Ric Flair finds himself getting launched from corner to corner while tied to a strap. The audience again cheers when Flair momentarily gets the better of Hogan, but it doesn't last long. Flair is forced to beg for mercy as Hogan takes control once again. The match then comes to an abrupt end when Hogan hits the leg drop on Flair. The babyfaces win via pinfall. I apologise that I can't go over this match in better detail. It was so disordered and very hard to keep up with, thanks to how the match was presented. After the bout, the heels are given some time to promote the upcoming Doomsday Cage Match. You may think it's odd that the heels cut a promo after getting defeated like this, but this gave the audience an opportunity to cheer for Flair. Rick goes into Nature Boy mode while taunting Savage, but it's what Arn Anderson says here that really sticks with me. Arn flat out says that what we just witnessed tonight doesn't even come close to representing a wrestling match. Double A was right on the money. We also learned that Flair, Sullivan, Anderson and Lex Luger would face Hogan and Savage in the Doomsday Cage Match, but as it would turn out, more bad guys were added for the Mega Powers to beat at Uncensored. Thanks to the messy presentation of the Nitro main event, I have to give the point to Raw. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Savio Vega got the first point for Raw. The second point went to WCW Nitro thanks to an excellent match pitting the Steiners against the Road Warriors. Alex Wright versus Lex Luger was pretty good, but the WrestleMania training videos were also really fun to watch, so that's another point for Raw. And finally, both Raw and Nitro had disappointing main events, but at least Raw's wasn't a complete cluster, so Raw gets the final point. Another win for Monday Night Raw, and this makes me wonder, where is Eddie Guerrero? Our overall scores then are now 10 points to Raw, 11 points to Nitro, and we've had 3 ties. In the TV ratings, Nitro got the win with a 3.2 over Raw's 2.9. 2 good episodes of Raw and Nitro this week then, but you could stop watching before the final matches. You really wouldn't miss too much. Next week, WCW will broadcast their go-home show for Uncensored, while the World Wrestling Federation continues their build towards WrestleMania. Some new names will get added to the Uncensored Doomsday Cage Match, while the WWF champion Bret Hart takes on Tatanka on Raw. Hopefully you join me next week, and thank you very much for watching.